Buon appetito. Okay, so good evening. Thank you, Carol, for inviting me, and thanks to you all for being here. Yes, speaking in public is one of the things that people feel most insecure about, and yet we are asked to do it constantly, in class during a job interview, in video calls during streamings, pitching ideas, and even in networking events, like when we meet new people. And the reason why it is so often feared is that we don't get often a proper guidance and a proper training in class or at work, despite the crucial role of abilities in communicating to an audience. So speaking in public is not just about giving a presentation to big audiences. It is about being able to communicate effectively in all aspects of our daily lives. And whenever I say public or audience, it can be one person, 3 to 10 people, up to big audiences. Because a lot of times, maybe I do some trainings with people that tell me, no, but I don't give presentations, so I don't need a public speaking training. And I say, well, communication is also just me and one person. So my name is Anna Montalenti. I'm an actress, trainer, and creative public speaking coach. I'm Italian. We met with Carol in Italy. And my mother is an actress and my father is a lawyer. So the habit of inventing stories, theater, and hard debating father has always been part of my life. So that's probably the reason why I developed this creative public speaking training. So I want to start with a suggestion for you all. When we approach to a public speaking training and we want to improve our skills, what I always say is that the first thing we have to do is to really relax, like change our relationship with the public speaking, because we are often in a negative mindset. We are often nervous. I was a bit nervous today, by the way. We are often nervous, anxious, and if we really change our perspective, like I'm happy and grateful to be here and to share my ideas and my projects with an audience, it really helps. I mean, the audience always feels this ease that we feel, okay? And yeah, so let's start with 3 levels, 3 types of communications. So when we work on public speaking, we have to train on these different aspects of communication. So the first one is verbal communication, what I say, and it's related to the content. Then there is the paraverbal communication, how I say it. And remember that in public speaking, how I say something, it is a content in itself. So it's very important to train this part. And it's related to vocal variety. And then the non-verbal communication, so connected to the body language. We will focus more later. And it is what I do when I say things. And we convey a lot of things with our bodies. So let's start from what we have to train and what we have to work on when we want to improve our performance skills. What a good communication requires is a training on words, voice, body, and emotions. And let's start with the first one, that are the words, the content I decide to deliver. We were speaking before, like, okay, let's focus on the message, and that's really what we always have to do before we start preparing a pitch. So what is the valuable message that I want to give to my audience? And the audience deserves value. So just focus on that first of all. And it's a hard work of word selection, because we can't say all the things we have in mind. We have to select. And there are 2 key factors that guide our word selection. So the first one is time availability. So every time you have to give a presentation, just ask the organization of the event, or ask yourself, how much time do I have for this specific speech in that specific context, and don't go over, especially on an event when the speakers are more. So the last one will have no time if I go over time. And then the other factor is the audience you address. So if you can, try to analyze as much as you can the audience that you will have, like the job, the age, the interest, or the cultural or technical background. Especially about the technical background, if the audience does not belong to your professional field, don't be too technical, because communication works if what I say is understood by my audience, of course. Then we go to the vocal potential. We have all a huge vocal potential, and the public speaking training is one of the experience we can do to discover all the things we can do with this super powerful tool that we all have. And remember that technically, the comprehension of what we say depends 100% on us as speakers. So if we have sore throat, if we are tired, if the acoustic is not the best, if we don't have a microphone, it all depends on us. So that's why we have to train our breathing and our vocal tool. So what do we have to do? We have to sustain our volume. We have to articulate properly. And in my training, I work a lot on articulation, because we are not that used to activate the part of the body involved in the articulation, so the jaws, the tongue, the lips. And today we don't have the time to see a lot of exercises, practical exercises, but I want to give you one, and it is called the pencil, not an original name. But what do we have to do? So we take a pencil and we put it in the mouth between our teeth. And then we can train with this exercise on a text or on our speech. Much better if we have a written speech. So we put the pencil between the teeth, we read one sentence, and then we remove the pencil and we reread that sentence. So I give you an example. Comprehension of words depends 100% on the speaker. Then we remove. Comprehension of words depends 100% on the speaker. So why we do that? Because with an obstacle, we are forced to use more this part of the body. And remember that the training on the articulation is very useful, because the rest of the body should be all the time relaxed. So we don't have to use the rest of the body to give power and strengthen our voice, our words. We just have to activate the part of the articulation. And in the end, that's a bit the more the most funny way part of the training is that we have to vary our voice. So we have these vocal expressive elements that are volume, pitch, high pitch or low pitch, pauses, and we will focus later on pauses, pace, that in Italian we call it ritmo, so it's really close to the musical field, and it's the combination between pauses, where do I put them in my speech and how long or short I hold them, and the speed. Okay? And the last one is the tone of voice. I can have an ironic tone of voice, dramatic, an aggressive, okay? As I wrote there, the variations of our voice is not only about making our speech more pleasant, it's about making make the work easier for the audience, because it's really much easier to follow a concept, to follow an explanation, if the speaker creates some variations. And it's also more funny for the speaker too. Otherwise, we always speak in the same standard way. And I will give you one more exercise that you can do on your own. So you can record your speech when you rehearse it, and then you listen to the speech, and if it sounds too slow, or on the opposite, if it sounds too fast and you don't even make some pauses and you just run, or you have maybe a high pitch all the time, just try to record it again, doing the opposite, but really exaggerating the opposite. So if it sounds too fast, you really do it again with a lot of pauses and so on. So, of course, it's not the way you will give your speech, but the final result should be the combination between your standard, comfortable way of speaking, your natural, and a rebuilt way of speaking. And that's the goal of a public speaking training. Okay, I will make you a gift, a small gift for tonight. And this is something you can do. That's the last exercise I will give you for tonight. But it is something you can do maybe early in the morning if you have an early meeting or the first call of the day, or late in the night, because in these moments of then you can do it whenever you want, but in these precise moments of the day, we are not still warmed up, and at the end of the day, we can be tired. Our voice can be tired. So you can imagine, this is a massage for our vocal cords, and you can imagine to take a piece of bread and to put it in the mouth and chew it. And while you chew it, you just do this sound. So you don't have to force the voice like this. No, it's a very relaxing, soft sound, and this is a massage for your vocal cords. I invite you, if you want, who wants, just to do it with me. So you then tell me if it's clear what you have to do. So we take a piece of bread, and we put it in a mouth, and we softly do this sound. Okay, because often when we have something in the voice or in the mouth, in the throat, we do like several times, and that's bad for our vocal cords. So all the time you feel like, I want to do that, just try to take a piece of bread, remember of the Italian coach, and take a piece of bread and chew it in the mouth. Okay, then we arrive to the body language. So I'm not that fanatic about strict rules, like never put a hand in the pocket or never cross your arms, otherwise you create a barrier with the audience. I mean, it's all an interesting field, and I really like the body language field, but what I think the key rule is that we are aware of what our body does when we are speaking. Okay, because maybe we're just doing something like this, scratching my finger, and I'm aware of this, so I notice internally, I notice that, and I just stop it and go on. It's okay. If I'm not aware of what my body is doing, maybe, I don't know if you see my feet, but maybe I put the feet like this, and for 5 minutes I keep this position because I don't notice it, and that's not good. So just try to empower your awareness of your body. And I divided the part of the body language in these 4 areas. So the first one is the presence, and it is what we convey when we enter a room or when we face an audience. We work a lot on that in theater, and that's why I brought a quote from a very talented and innovative theater director who was Peter Brook, and he speaks about the presence as the absolute commitment to the moment we are living. This is something I always keep in mind, especially when I'm tired and maybe I have to give 3 hours of training, because if we really are committed in what we are doing and we put a high level of energy in what we are doing, then after we can take beers and relax and stay with friends. But when we are in front of an audience, the audience deserves this kind of presence, this kind of concentration and energy. So although sometimes we are tired or unfocused, just try to remember this. And then there is the posture. Remember that a good posture, so basically an open stance and a good posture, is really is sustaining our breathing. And the correct use of our breathing sustains our voice. So posture, breathing, and voice are all connected. So just don't do strange things, because not only for the audience, but because of your ease in breathing and correctly and properly use your voice. Hand gestures. I don't know if you have some problems with hands. Surely less than us. No, well, I don't, as for the body language in general, I'm not strict, I'm not severe. I'm Italian, okay, that's the stereotype that we use hands. I don't know what there is, these stereotypes. But I give you an image that we can keep in mind about the hand gestures. Basically, we don't have to distract the audience and just use them to strengthen our story, our message. So we can think about the highlighters. So you remember at school with the highlighter? So we didn't underline all the words, but we didn't even underline just the first word of the chapter, number 1, okay? We just, and what do? We underline the thing that we think are more important, isn't it? So we do the same with the hands, okay? We don't use them all the time, and we don't even have to be frustrated speakers with no arms and no hands, okay? And yeah, I just wanted to make a small focus on the online. Of course, I think you work a lot online, more than me, surely, but online we just have to be a bit more precise and clean with the hands, because the screen is small, and what we do in life that doesn't bother the audience on a screen can really bother more. So just pay more attention when you are online. And in the end, but for me the most important part of the body language is the eye contact. So there is no effective communication without eye contact. And we always have to cover with the eye contact, as much as we can, all our audience. I've seen a lot of presentations like with a slide like this and the speaker speaking like this. So this part of the audience were not involved, and that's not really nice. Okay, so remember to cover all. And remember also that it's not only something we give to our audience. Of course, we deliver the message and we donate ourselves, our energy through the eyes, but we also constantly have to take feedbacks from our audience. So I have to know as a speaker if someone is falling asleep or maybe not understanding, not following, I don't know, whatever. Don't close yourself in a bubble, just stay connected all the time with your audience. So yeah, we have to train our body a lot. And the last part is the emotions. So I divided in speaker's emotions and audience's emotions. The speaker's emotion is whatever we feel before or during a presentation or a meeting. And it's one, as a trainer, I've seen a lot of people, and I can say it's one of the it's one of the obstacles, it's one of the fear, it's one of the problems sometimes, like managing emotions. So it's not a problem at all to be emotional and to deliver emotions to our audience, but it can be a problem if we can't manage well and properly the emotions. So they can become an obstacle, like I'm too scared, I'm too nervous, I don't sleep the night before the pitch, and so on. And remember that my main goal is that public speaking should be something not funny, but yeah, pleasant, and something we enjoy doing that. So how can we manage our emotions? Today I don't have the time to give you some breathing exercise, but it's one of the key tools to learn how to manage emotions. And then, of course, practice. I think you have heard a lot of times, you can learn to speak in public if you speak in public. But that's true, like for everything. And it's not only practice, it's also that if you do it a lot of times, or as much as you can, you know better yourself and your fears and your reactions in that situation. And you also know that you will survive in the end, so it's okay. And so don't avoid opportunities, of course, of speaking in public. And the last one is the audience's emotions. And before speaking about this, I just give you a short definition of this word, this concept, that is emotional state. So it's the set of thoughts, emotions, and physiology in a specific moment. So when you prepare a pitch, just try to know as much as you can in what emotional state you want to bring your audience. An emotional state is not only laugh or cry. There are a lot of in between, like maybe I want my audience to relax. So I want my audience to feel concentrated. I want my audience to feel moved by a subject. If you know that, where you want to bring your audience emotionally, then you will decide more properly how to use the paraverbal and the nonverbal and the content also in order to bring the audience there. But if I use an aggressive tone of voice and a high volume to get you relaxed, I think I will not reach my goal. And about pitching ideas, a lot of times maybe we don't show so much passion or enthusiasm, and so it's more difficult that the audience will get passionate of my project, of course. As I told you before, I was going to give a small focus on poses because it's a super, super, super powerful tool. Sometimes we are afraid of using them, afraid of silence, but as for the music, sound and silence are the combination that creates my speech. For about the music, it's a song, about the public speaking is my pitch. So try to use them and know that you can use them also to guide the focus of my audience. And now I will explain you better. So I wrote down for you 4 ways you can use the poses. The first one is before you open. So we were on the couch, and then me and Mathieu, we had to come here and start a speech. So it's not that nice if we walk and just arrive here and, hello, my name is Anna Montalenti, I'm here today to speak about public speaking, okay? So remember that the first moment is very delicate, and it's very important to create a good connection with the audience. So try to take a small, short pause before starting speaking. So scan the room, establish a connection, and then you start. Then you can use the poses to give a dramatic effect. This means that if I put a pause after a word or after a sentence, or if I pause before saying something, it gives the feeling to the audience that something important is going to come or has just been said. And this is how we guide the focus of our audience. Then it's useful to avoid the the filler words, like so enjoy the silence and then continue with your sentence. And in the end, and that's a very important part of public speaking, to give the time to the audience to process what they are listening to. You need the time, we need the time as listeners to digest, to elaborate, to understand how we feel about what the speaker is saying. It's a give and take. It's like for the eye contact. It's good for both. It's a win-win. As a general precious, I think, suggestion that I always give in the really first moments of my trainings is that each of us is different and it's fine. Like for a good training always starts from what we are. I'm different from her, I'm different from Carol, I have my body, my voice, my personality, my interest, my background. And that's important. That's a very effective way of approaching to a public speaking training. So don't try to emulate others' way of speaking, because maybe we will arrive there. Maybe we can just have a look to speakers we like and say, yeah, I like because he, blah, blah, blah. But start always from what you are. And about this, I will give you a quote from Dale Carnegie, who was an American lecturer and a point of reference for leadership and public speaking. And he says, each person is unique. Such uniqueness is the most valuable asset when having to give a speech. It is something public speakers should take care of and develop, because it is the spark that will give strength and sincerity to their speech. So the first thing we do when we train on public speaking is say out loud what are our strengths, because each of us have things that work in communication. We have to know that and we have to use them. And then, of course, but we are better at knowing weaknesses. We say what are our weaknesses and in what we want to get better, what skills we want to improve, or what are our obstacles, and through the practice and through the training, we just get better. A few things I want you not to forget is that, I'm sorry, but public speaking is not about you, it's not about me, it's always about the message, and that's the big difference between public speaking and performing arts. So public speaking, of course, we as speakers, we are the vehicle that deliver this message. So we have to train ourselves and use properly voice, body, and motions and whatever, but the focus must be on the content, okay? It's also relaxing, like people is not here today for me, it's for what I have to say them. Then, as I said before, try to analyze your audience. Also few information, but it really helps, because maybe you will say the same presentation. I always speak about public speaking, but it depends the audience I address. If I have 50 doctors here, or 50 DJs, or actors, or designers, it changes a bit. And then, in the end, like what I'm doing here is a presentation, okay? It's something You are not interrupting. It's not a dialogue. It's not a real dialogue, but inside it must be a dialogue. So try to think of your pitch not as a presentation to our audience, but always as a conversation. And this is also related to eye contact, taking feedbacks, and be in service of the listeners. Do you ever practice or rehearse your speech in front of a mirror? Yes, you can say it. Okay, does it help? I mean, you find it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. But what I suggest is after the mirror, that can be the first warm-up, always try to rehearse your speech with human beings. Why? Because maybe also not a coach, but a colleague or a friend, just because you need to know what is the reaction of the audience, of a listener. Okay? So try to do it as much as you can. So to conclude, I want to say that all this training in public speaking is really about discovering the pleasure of sharing an idea or telling a story to someone. And whether we are beginners or experienced communicator, it's very funny and useful for our personal and professional success to develop and strengthen a personal, authentic, and effective way of speaking. So that's why I always guide people to reach, for me, the most important and most difficult goal in public speaking, that is finding the balance between authenticity and technical preparation. So there is all the behind-the-scenes preparation and training, but then you arrive on stage or in a class or in a meeting, and you have all this technical background to use, very important, of course, but you have to be spontaneous, authentic, and to connect really with the audience. So for me, it's the most important and also challenging goal we can reach. I will probably be here back in Brussels for a creative public speaking training. So my workshops are very practical. And I come from theater, and I have been working in public speaking for a long time. So I combine these two words in order to keep, to give all the time, on the side of the technique, also the creative freedom that we always need in every job we do, what I think. So thanks to you, and I give you my contacts if you need them, and then we can all chat also here. And thank you, Carol, for inviting me.
Thank you very much. It was really unbelievable for me. I used to speak a lot, and I had always this anxiety to speak in front of the public audience, and the bigger the audience, the more of the fear. So I will try to use as much as I can, but I'm even more stressed now after this training. So yeah,
it's
definitely.
The pleasure of telling a story.
Exactly, exactly. So do you guys have any questions? No question. Everybody's feet.
Yeah.
Any advice for someone with a naturally low voice?
Low voice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all about practical exercises. So just try to first, well, maybe later I can give you some practical exercise. That was going to be a difficult moment for me. I knew it because all the questions are usually have a practical answer, as my approach is. But yeah, you start working on breathing. You start warming up the vocal cords, as we have seen before. And then you use the vowels, A, O, A, okay, to sustain your voice, you have to imagine arrows. So your vowel, your sound is an arrow, and you just want to project it towards an imaginary audience. And you do it, I give an example, like with the A. So it's never inside the voice, it's always outside. And what I suggest, because a lot of people, I sometimes have this problem, you just try gradually to use a higher and stronger volume, but always with this feeling of projecting the voice outside, okay? I know it's a short arrows.
Okay. It's a physical muscle, right? Like you can train your muscles physically to project, so it's not like you're born in a low.
No. It's like being tuned, like you say, I can't sing. It's not true. I was saying when I was very young, I can't sing, but then you train your voice and you can sing, but I'm not going to do it. That's why I always propose practical workshops, because it's really communication. It's really a lot about physical. It's a physical training. It's a physical matter. It's a physical attitude we have to give as a box for our content. And it's not all about ideas. Yes?
Until we wait that you come back and give your workshop, do you have any courses online that we can?
Well, I do one-to-one online consultancies, lessons. Now I'm not giving online courses. So, I prefer to take a plane and come to another country. But I do a storytelling, but it's already started. So it's with other 3 teachers. It's all about storytelling. So I do the more the part more connected to the oral part, so speaking. But I really think it's very useful to be in a room and to work physically and in presence. But now I don't have online courses.
Yeah, but any other courses that you, I don't know, suggest us?
Okay, with others, you mean?
Yeah,
okay. If you find some public speaking or theater courses, of course, theater is, I remember when I was at the university and I was giving the first exams, and then I finished my 2 years theater drama school, and I started to work in theater, and I came back to the university and I said, but why we have to stress so much and we don't get a proper training about telling things to someone, because it really changes. And so, what I suggest is always public speaking and theater courses. I mean, singing courses is fine if you like, but it's more about the voice. It's not speaking.
We have a question from online. It's actually about storytelling formats, if you can recommend any. Like STAR, for example, there's this format or framework of storytelling. I don't know if you work with any.
No, I've read an interesting book that is building your storytelling brand. That it's an approach to more for marketing and brand. I'm not really into that. I'm more into the physical approach. But I don't know about frameworks or. Sorry. Storytelling, it comes from people around a fire and telling stories. And in what I always suggest to people that know young people is just try to tell this anecdote to a 3, 4, 5 years old guy or girl, and you will suddenly change your way of talking, the energy, the commitment you use, the variations. So this is something very not simple, but you don't need a lot of things. You just need kids around.
Adopt a child and we're done. Like,
Yeah, but not yours. I mean, whatever.
That's even better.
Yeah. This is one of the exercises.
Could be dangerous. Huh?
This is one of the exercises I often do. It's like, talk to me about your professional field or about your project, and can be a very technical stuff. And talk to me or to them as if they were an 8 years old class. So it really changes your way of engaging the audience. And I don't know why, when we become adults, we don't use this energy and these kind of variations. It really helps adults too. So this is something always to train.
I have one question. Maybe it's a selfish question, but
Yes.
I hope other people have that problem as well. Could you give us one tip to overcome stage anxiety?
That is not breathing, and it's not practice. I will not tell you imagine them naked. No, I'm against this thing. No, what I say is really, well, before I was a bit anxious. I mean, I've been working in theater, but it's something different. I mean, yeah, you are on a stage, but it's really you. Now it's really me. And what I really do is to imagine all the time what I would like to see as an audience, as a person in the audience. So this gives me the energy and the attitude to do something that I would like to see, maybe. Okay, so every time you have to face an audience, what I suggest is one, preparation, because if we improvise, it's a bit more difficult. And then, yeah, really think of what would be your best image, your best image of a speaking. Sorry, I got lost in English. You imagine yourself in your best, not the best version, but in the best image you would see of a speech. Okay, images are very important. Like we image ourselves as with energy or with a smile or with a balanced body, and this helps to do it. So if you want to imagine yourself in a confident and interactive speech, just keep it in mind, and it helps.
I'll try.
And of course, a training.
And a training.
Of course.
You mentioned before practicing. Well, you talk a lot about practicing.
Yeah,
so
all the
actually,
time.
we believe that this is also an occasion to practice. So if you would like to practice public speaking, come, share your knowledge, present something.
That's true.
That's, I think, the best and safe place to practice. You definitely won't be judged, you won't be criticized.
And we don't have to be perfect. I mean, I don't think I'm a perfect speaker. That's the other point. We don't have to be TED Talk speaker or stuff like this. We really have to have something to say or something to share or something to give. I think that's the most important thing. It's not like I don't have super performance skills, so I'm not going to give a talk. No. Yeah. Yeah, training is important just because you have feedbacks. Because public speaking is a lot about how we are perceived by the others. That's why we do coaching or group training, because if you see other people working, you learn a lot and you use things also for yourself. Beer?
Yeah, we are designers. We don't afraid of feedback, so.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
And
okay.
frustration,
exactly,
too, if I got something.
Yeah. Okay, if we don't have any questions, then I would like to thank all the speakers, Anna, Mathieu, and of course UX Republic for a great location, the beers and snacks. So thank you very much. Yes, I have one more thing to do. Actually, I already gave one to Matthias. So we have those badges. So you unlock a new achievement, and we
Wow.
give you a badge of speaking
Okay,
and
thank
UX
you.
Beers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.